Hey YouTubers, I'm the Muskoka Painter. We're at Donny Boy 73. We're going to be staining his shed. You can see it in the background. And at last we're outside, summertime in Muskoka. So we'll enjoy that and we'll learn something along the way. Let's get into our demonstration. So we decided to go with 100% acrylic stain. And Donny and I had a good discussion about it. He had some friends suggest that you go with the oil. But as you know, I'm a big fan of the latex because it can breathe. As long as it's specifically designed for exterior use, then it's better to go with that. The thing with the oil is that it just doesn't work well with moisture, and with the dramatic UV impact that we have in this part of the world, it tends to degrade pretty quickly. And so we want to have our buildings or whatever we're painting looking their best at all times. So I'm a proponent of latex. Donny Boy's chosen to go for it. Just opened up our can here and you can see that a separation has occurred between the solids in the vehicle, and so we need to give this a good stirring. And remember, we don't shake the paint or the stain, we stir it. So we're probably going to take at least 60 seconds, but we want to make sure that all the solids are stirred up from the bottom of the can and they work their way through the vehicle. And you can see there's still a separation there between the solids in the vehicle, so we'll keep stirring until it's completely solid like paint. So a good minute or so later, we can see that all the solids are through the vehicle. And this is actually, it looks like solid paint, but it's actually a semi-transparent stain, which means that you get a good base of color, but you still see the grain of the wood. You can even see it on the stir stick there. So now we're going to get into applying it to the shed.
It's thick.
That's good. So before we actually apply any paint, we got to make sure that the wood is at least clean. And we know this is new, fresh wood, but it's been installed for a few days, so some dirt has splashed back up on here. So Don was able to supply me with a stiff brush, and because this is rough cut pine, it's not going to hurt anything. So we just want to give it a scrub and take off all the dirt that we might see along the bottom of this wood. It's actually probably the worst spot right there, just where it bounced off the... So now we're going to start applying our product, and usually we transfer off this full gallon, but because it's so close at hand, it's not a problem. So we put our brush in, get our product in, just like painting, get our product into the bottom third of the brush. And we start from the bottom. We will do our edges of the product first. And we'll just work our way up the edges like so. So I can hear you saying, well, why don't you use a roller or a pad or even a bigger brush? Well, the thing is, it doesn't hurt to work this in with the brush, because you can see there that it's not a perfectly smooth finish. So we'll just continue working our way up, working that stain into the surface of the wood. And the way this stain is prepared, it's unlike the interior waterborne that we were using on our doors, in as much that you'll see overlap marks. The way it's prepared, we don't have that problem, so we can just go ahead. But we want to keep everything section for section and do this whole length, and we'll do this whole length and work our way through the whole project like that. Yeah, it's nice, cooler now, the sun's setting and a little breeze going, and perfect working conditions now. So it was good that we picked the side of the shed that was in the shade so that our product doesn't get gummed up in the heat, and it makes it more comfortable to work in. So if we were in the beginning of the day, we find the side of the shed that's in the shade, and then we just move around with the sun so that we're working in the shade, and the product flows really well. It makes it easier for us to work, and the product lasts better as well because it's going on properly. So we've done one wall, and now we're just going to paint the bottom edges of these boards so that the moisture won't get drawn up into the board and the product releases from the surface. So you can just do that with the tip of your brush. Just dab it in and then brush it along. Just use the tips. And it doesn't hurt to stain these legs as well and keep the moisture off. Every little bit helps. There you go, Donnie boy. Saw us staining and we had the paint can close at hand, but we're going to be doing a little bit of ladder work on this project, so we don't want to be carrying a full gallon of paint. What we're going to do is transfer off into an empty paint can. You may have a paint can specifically for this purpose, or we can use a can that's become empty, as in this case. So the can's completely empty, and we just pour off an inch or two into that empty can, and that'll be plenty for us to work with to cut in. And then we just clean up this can and then replace the lid on it while we're not using it, and then we're good to go on our ladder. So when we're up our ladder, it's much lighter, much more convenient to work this way than with a full can of stain. So there isn't a whole lot of hardware on this project, but when we do come to it, we just want to do one piece of the hardware. We'll keep our system going where we do the edge first, and then we'll cut into the one piece of hardware, stain around it, and then what we'll do is just continue to work our way down to the next piece. So then you just cut in to your hardware as you approach it. And just cut in around. Use up all the product that's in the brush. And just work up. Place your brush on there and work the brush back into the edge. Now, happen to get a little stain on the edge of this hardware, just take our damp cloth that we always have on us and just wipe the edge of the hardware and wipe the stain back, and we don't have to worry about the stain coming off the wood because it's penetrated in there. Working our way down to another piece of hardware, I just wanted to show you guys how we can approach this. So again, we just place your brush on and turn it in, and you just cut down into the edge. So you get down onto the top edge, but then you go with your point and just work it down, and that gets into the thing. And if you get a little bit of stain on the metal work, we just wipe it back with a rag. So then you just put, instead of having the brush like this, you just go end to end and poke it up, and so the paint goes up in to a narrow point. So we're coming toward the end of our project here. I just wanted to explain that we need to paint the edges, the bottoms of these boards, and the tops, as well as the bottom of those boards, so we seal it all off. I just want to clarify a couple of things here. We're using a brush because we want to get into these rough areas, these grooves in this rough cut pine. But what we have to do is use the tip of our brush and use the wide part on the wide part of the board. And then don't be afraid to load up and use the tips of the hairs to get into those grooves, into those high and low spots. But use the wide part of the brush across like this. I see a lot of people, even professionals, doing this, and they just can't get the coverage, and if they keep doing that, the brush is going to look like a dish rag on a stick before not too long. So we go with the wide part of the brush, use the tips only. Don't try to push in like this. That's another sign of an amateur at work. So we'll do this final bit here, I'll show you how it works. So here's another thing that I want to explain. You want to, it's just like painting interior, you want to do your narrow surfaces first. And this is where you use the narrow edge of the brush. So you use the narrow width of the brush on these narrow parts, and you do those first. Right? And then once you've gone up a couple of feet or so, then you load up your brush, and then you do your wide part, and you work within those areas. Don't be afraid to load up again. Don't let the brush get too dry. Use the tips of the hairs. You get better coverage and you can move along faster. And then you just cut into there like that.
Look at the Muskoka painter's pants. Don't you ever wash?
Whoa.
Wash your clothes?
Whoa.
Just kidding.
Every once in a while, every 6 months, every season. The very last piece, the very last section of the first coat on this project. And so we're going to do 2 coats to protect the surface fully, and then it should be good for probably 3 years, and then we just have to do another coat to maintain it. I just wanted to show you guys the difference between 1 coat and 2 coats. We can still see the natural grain somewhat of the wood, but here it's showing through a little too much. The color is much richer here, plus you're getting that extra protection, so that's what we want. The second coat will go on a lot smoother, or a lot easier, because this has been sealed now, and so it won't be as porous, and we'll use less product and it will go quicker as well. Hope you enjoyed that demonstration on how to paint rough sawn pine and how to paint a project like Donny Boy's shed. Hope this will help you with your future projects. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop me a line. I'll be sure to respond, and if you have any suggestions for videos, I'll endeavor to do that as soon as I can as well. And then by all means, subscribe. Don't forget to check out an overview of the entire project at Donny Boy 73 channel, and the link is at the bottom of the page. So until next time, it's been Craig from Muskoka Painter, helping you take the pain out of painting.